The name that causes Benfiquistas everywhere to cringe in a mix of fear, frustration, and horror. No, not Emerson, though that has a similar effect. Béla Guttmann. The year is... Sorry, I'm Adrian. Hello. The year is 1958, and FC Porto have signed Guttmann, a Hungarian coach, with the hopes that he will help them to take back the Primeira Liga crown. Why him? Guttmann was fresh off of winning the Brazilian Paulista with São Paulo, where his revolutionary 4-2-4 formation swept the country, and before that, he had stints with some of Europe's biggest teams at the time. He infamously left AC Milan after 19 matches, despite the team flourishing, thanks to, and you'll notice a pattern here, a dispute with the club's board. At his final press conference, he said one of the most memorable final words you'll ever hear from a manager, quote, "I have been sacked even though I am neither a criminal nor a homosexual. Goodbye." Oh. From there, he managed one of the most talent-rich clubs of the 50s, FC Honvéd in Hungary. Actually, it could be an interesting video to talk about the mighty Magyars in the future and Hungarian football in the 50s. But anyways, in the 1958-59 season, FC Porto find themselves 5 points behind Benfica in the table just 6 matches into it when Guttmann took over. But by the time the season had come to a close, Porto had closed the gap, finishing level on 41 points from 26 matches with an identical record to that of Benfica, but with a plus 59 goal difference to Benfica's plus 58, Porto won their 5th Primeira Liga title. But at the end of the season, Guttmann switched allegiances once again, ditching the north of Portugal to join Benfica in the nation's capital. True to his form of causing controversy with both his actions and his words, Guttmann immediately fired no less than 20 of the senior players at Benfica and thus promoted many youth players who would later become legends. However, his masterstroke came courtesy of a haircut. Allegedly, while at the barber in Lisbon, Brazilian player José Carlos Bauer talked to Guttmann about a young player who was starting to make some noise in Mozambique, playing for Sporting Clube de Lourenço Marques and scoring 77 goals in just 42 appearances. Guttmann flew down almost immediately and came back with Eusebio da Silva Ferreira. I mean, no context needed for him. To sum up Benfica's playing style with their team full of youth players, well, Guttmann says it best, as per usual. Quote, "I never minded if the opposition scored, because I always thought we would score another." And often they did, as Benfica scored plenty, Eusebio being the main component to do so, of course, making the Lisbon side one of the most entertaining teams in Europe. In the 59-60 season, Benfica took the Primeira Liga back from FC Porto and in turn qualified for the European Cup for the 1960-61 season. Winning the league once again and making it all the way to the European Cup final, Benfica defeated Barcelona 3-2 thanks to a Mario Coluna volley in the 55th minute. Coluna, by the way, had broken his nose just 8 minutes into the match, but carried on. No subs at this time. In the 61-62 season, they failed to win the league, won the Portuguese Cup, and again made the European Cup final, this time taking on the giants, Real Madrid. Benfica found themselves 3-2 down at the half, but a 20-minute blitz saw Coluna and Eusebio put Benfica ahead 5-3 to win their 2nd consecutive European Cup. After Real Madrid had won 5 titles in a row, with Benfica winning 2 consecutively, the defeat of Los Blancos felt like a changing of the guard, with many thinking that this young and extremely talented Benfica team could go on to have a European dynasty of their own under Guttmann. And Guttmann, well, he figured as much as well, so he promptly went to the Benfica board and asked their new president, Antonio Carlos Vital, for a bonus or a pay rise. Vital turned him down, allegedly stating that nowhere in his contract did it state that he was entitled to a bonus or an increase in pay. Well, as we know, Guttmann isn't afraid of leaving clubs, very much a my way or the highway man, and apparently he stormed out of the meeting, stating to the president and the board that, quote, "Not in 100 years from now will Benfica ever be a European champion." A very bold statement to make, one of which some former players that played under Guttmann at the time say is inaccurate, and that he actually said that they wouldn't win for 30 years, and that the no wins for 100 years aspect has been massively exaggerated by the media. But that aside, let's take a look at how Benfica has fared in the European finals that have followed Guttmann's exit. Benfica was still a great team without him, and still employed the system that he had used in their 63 European Cup campaign. In the final, they faced off against AC Milan, and thanks to Coluna going down injured, there were no substitutes at this time, remember, Benfica played with 1 less man and lost 2-1. Prior to this final, Guttmann himself actually backed Benfica to defeat AC Milan, as you Portuguese readers can see here. go ahead and hit pause if you like. In 1965, they made the final once again, this time against Inter Milan. In the 43rd minute, what would have been an easy save for Benfica keeper Costa Pereira almost comedically trickled through his legs and across the line. That was the winner, and Benfica lose again. 3 years later, in 1968, Benfica was once again in the final, their fifth of the decade, facing a legendary Manchester United side. With the match tied at 1-1 near the 90-minute mark, Eusebio broke in all alone, and you would have bet your life on him scoring. But United keeper Alex Stepney made a fantastic save, and extra time was needed. In extra time, Benfica were completely shot, and 3 goals in 7 minutes gave United the 4-1 win. The curse was 3 for 3, or the alleged curse. Next up, the 1988 final against PSV, 2 decades later, but 20 years hadn't saved Benfica from the alleged curse, nor Guttmann's death in 1981, as after 90 minutes and extra time, Benfica lost in the shootout 6-5. 1990, once again against AC Milan, this time facing their famous immortal side that boasted some legendary players. This time, the final was to be played in Vienna, Austria, where Guttmann had been buried after his death. Out of desperation, Eusebio apparently went to the grave of his former coach and begged for forgiveness on behalf of the club. It didn't work, the Immortals were victorious, and Benfica lost yet another European Cup final, 1-0. So, that's 5 European finals and 5 losses for Benfica since the alleged curse was laid upon them by Béla Guttmann. But Benfica's terrible European finals form stretches into the UEFA Cup or Europa League as well. Back in 1983, Benfica took on Anderlecht in the UEFA Cup final, back when there was still 2 legs in the final. They lost the first leg in Anderlecht 1-0, and the second leg, Benfica took the lead in this 32nd minute to level it on aggregate, but 6 minutes later they conceded what was the eventual winner for Anderlecht, another European final lost. Then, the Europa League finals, the ones that I actually got to witness on TV. Lucky me. The 2012-13 season saw Benfica make the final against Rafa Benitez's Chelsea, and after an extremely tight game, Branislav Ivanovic's looping header in the 93rd minute gave Chelsea the winner right at the death, right before extra time. The following season, Benfica found themselves in the final of the Europa League once again, and after being the better side against Sevilla, they couldn't find a winner. Extra time came, same story. Then the shootout, and with some controversy surrounding Sevilla keeper Beto aside, Benfica lost once again in a shootout, their 8th European final lost in a row. So, the alleged curse of Béla Guttmann, at least so far, is undefeated. Some think that there is simply a fear factor that comes into play for Benfica. While the curse isn't likely real, the more that time went on with Benfica failing to win, the more that people believed in it, and the more power it would have over the psyche of the Benfica players and their inability to get it over the line. Pun intended. While believers would of course point to the fact that not only has it followed Benfica from the European Cup or the Champions League and then into the UEFA Cup / Europa League, but now it's even bled into the UEFA Youth League, where Benfica lost the 2014 final against Barcelona and the 2017 final against RB Salzburg. That's 10 finals if you count the Youth League. But as a Benfica fan, I think it's nice to be able to pin our failures on a curse in a sort of, well, hey man, we're cursed. What do you expect kind of thing? But ultimately, I think we're just bottle jobs. But if we really are cursed, then we've already completed 57 years. So here's to another 43. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It's fun looking at the curses on different teams. And I gotta say a big thank you to my man Azeit the Benfiquista on Twitter for helping me with the research on this. If you're a Benfiquista on Twitter, then you must follow this guy. He's essential, and the glow up is real, man. He just hit like 1K followers in under a year, so jump on it. Thanks again, guys. I'm Adrian. Take care.